Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here, Tuesday, July the 11th, Feast of Saint Benedict, founder of Western monasticism. Maybe it was Saint Anthony, but I think it was Saint Benedict. Okay, so from the from the first reading, Genesis. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. And then the man said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." This is a very mysterious encounter between Jacob and what appears to be a manifestation of God. Because he will go on later to say, he asks him his name and he's not told. So it's either an angel or it's God, because angels don't reveal their names, at least normally speaking. We only know the names of 4, and one of them is the fallen angel, of course. So, but he says, Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." So he probably had encountered an angel, and angels frequently, of course, what they do is they communicate God's message. So he's encountering this heavenly being, and now there's no question that an angel can wipe out a human being just like with a mere thought. So something is going on here, and this is the way we should, enter into these readings, even though we don't understand, and maybe we'll never fully understand it, but what we can understand is the fact that Jacob is undergoing some sort of wrestling or encounter or sort of purification or wrestling. A good word to use, of course, is what's here, is wrestling with God. In other words, he's in this battle with God, because Jacob is going to be a significant person in the economy or the plan of salvation. And each one of us is called to, in effect, wrestle with God. To actually struggle with our own, to allow God to purify us, to actually deal with us almost in combat, and to encounter us. We can hold God off. We can push him away. God forbid that we should do that, but we can do it. God allows us to do this, or we can allow ourselves to actually wrestle with God. And he wants this encounter with us because he wants to purify us. He wants to enter into friendship. He wants us to do all the great things that he has planned for each and every person that he has allowed to come into the world. So remember that when things are difficult, don't run interiorly, don't run away. Pray for the grace to wrestle with God like Jacob did. Okay, over to the gospel. There's so much here. Jesus heals a demoniac. But it also says, then Jesus went about the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then he says to the disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send laborers to his harvest. It's an indictment on primarily the leaders, but everybody's involved in this sort of indictment, because the leaders, yes, come up short in not, by their witness, attracting people to want to lead. Leading is not easy. Leading is a sacrifice, and it's also bound up with temptations. So to be a true leader is like Jesus would say, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So to be a leader is to willing to put your life on the line to serve those you're called to have authority over. So it's partly their fault, but it's also partly, the people's fault for not maybe rising up and sort of taking charge or, demanding proper teaching. So it's a bit of both. I'm just trying to get at the idea that it's not just one and not the other. It's a bit of both. And today the same thing occurs. That even more so because the members of the lay faithful have been taught even more in our own time of their responsibility and their duty and obligation and right to exercise the fullness of their baptismal calling, their royal priesthood. Priests, of course, are called to serve and to give good example so that many will want to come forward primarily, to give their life to Christ as priests and as religious, but also, and it's not to replace the functions of the lay faithful, but to serve them and to call them forth, so the members of the lay faithful and the primary vocation of the lay faithful to sanctify the world, not to have more roles in the church, as it were. I mean, that's fine if it works out, but it's to really sanctify the world, to bring it back to Christ. I mean, that's the primary task of the laity, and that's just crying to be done. So yes, the priests have to do their part in calling and teaching this, but the lay people have to also realize that I got to get off my couch, as it were, and start undergoing some formation, some learning, to really kind of bring forth my own baptismal calling to actually serve my Lord in the world. So think about this. God bless you.